So I like that you said that what's in CMS's control, because what a lot of people don't realize is that teacher pay and teacher benefits and a lot of that, most of that comes from the state. And so the state sets the salary scale, the state sets all that. What the counties can do and what the school districts can do is offer a supplement. And CMS is one of the top that offer a large supplement on top of what our pay is. And so focusing on that, it's not just about pay. Yes, that is a huge thing. And CMS and the county commission can only do so much, and we realize that. We need to, as a board, one needs to advocate for the state. We need to stand behind our teachers and advocate for the future of education and paying our teachers accordingly and treating them as professionals that they are. And so that's one thing we can do, is we can use our legislative agenda to advocate for the state. We also can encourage you to go out and vote for people that are pro-public education. So that's, talking out to the community, finding what the community wants, teaching the community how to advocate for themselves, because it's going to take all of us to move education forward. The board can also start continuing to treat teachers with respect. And that's valuing our teachers, not adding any more than we have to onto their plate because we know they have so much already. A lot of people that I hear from the school board or that are running for school board are like, well, we want to give teachers PD. Okay, but that's telling me that you don't value our teachers, that you don't think that they're professional enough or that they already have enough training. PD is great. I love it. I think it's important to help grow teachers. But that's not the answer. Giving teachers more PD is not the answer.
And just to be clear, professional development?
Correct, professional development. Giving teachers more professional development is not always the answer, but it's usually the first thing that people go to. And so, great, let's do professional development. Let's do it in a way that is beneficial to our teachers. Our teachers don't need to sit there and have you read slide off slide. Let's have other teachers teaching these PDs. Let's using their expertise. And then the teacher's like, okay, I may need to grow in my knowledge of how to help my special education kids. Here's a PD that I can take, or here's a personal development that I can take to further my education. Making it more personal. Realizing that our teachers are our biggest asset and our biggest resource, and we need to tap into that resource. That is the focus of my campaign, is the culture of CMS. And the bringing our relationship with our teachers to be better, and that will help the morale. If your teachers feel that you are supported, valued, whatever you want to call, just supported in general, our teachers are going to continue to work as hard as they do and even more. If you're supported at work, you're going to continue to do your work. If you're not supported, then you're going to feel demoralized. And that's part of it. People are exhausted. Teachers are being vilified in the media. Teachers are being vilified in the community because of misinformation that's being spread. And it all affects our psyche. We're people too. What we hear about our profession that we love, and you don't go into teaching for the money. You never do. You go into teaching because you have a passion for students, you have a passion for education, and you want to better students going forward or kids going forward. That's why you go into education. It really is a calling. And it really is something that the people that are in there really want to do. But we need to give them the support, and we need to give them the respect that they have earned. And advocating for master's pay to come back. That's huge. These teachers spent thousands of dollars to further their education. They should be rewarded for it, just like every other profession. Those types of things. Those types will help the morale, will help the workload. If we value your time and we value your position, the workload will balance out. There's just that culture. We need to support our teachers. And in turn, my whole slogan has been strong teachers, strong students, strong schools, strong communities. We're all connected. And if we want to move education forward, then we need to work as a connected field. So I'm not going to pretend to come up with all these reasons on why all of this has happened, because the public is not previewed to all of the circumstances. And I I am one of those that I need to see all of the evidence before I can make a decision. But I can say that there is definitely something missing. And whether they left on their own accord or they were asked to leave, the culture has declined because of that, because of the turnover rate and everything else. And so we need, things that I'm going to be focusing on for the superintendent is someone that's going to be here for the long haul, someone that sees the distance, someone that's visionary, someone that can hire the best people around them, even if that person may be better than them. Surrounding yourself with, a team of professionals that you can trust to do their job and that do their job well and help create the relationships and not divide them is going to be key. And that's going to be all part of vision and their ideals and things like that. Also, CMS has adopted the whole child learning model, which means we work on our mind as well as our physical bodies and our academic knowledge. And so we need someone that wants to continue that. We need someone that wants to continue being an anti-racist. CMS has made the choice to move towards an anti-racist school district. And while this journey is going to be hard and difficult and long, we need someone that wants to continue that journey with us. And, keeping into mind that we are an all-inclusive district, that we have a wide variety of staff, community members that span from low income to high income. Someone that has experience in that type of district. We have urban and rural areas in CMS, so we are unique in that sense. We are also one of the only districts across the country that is a Title I district, in which means that over 50% of our schools are low income, which is usually determined by free or reduced lunch, poverty level, things like that. So that's over 50% of our schools. And so someone that has the experience to handle both affluent areas and low income that need our most help. Well, I think my focus is going to stick to where my campaign is going, and that's the culture. I'm going to ask about their leadership and what they have done to lift up others, because leadership is not you being the best. Leadership is lifting up others and helping others be the best to do what they need to do. And so I'm going to talk about when was a time that you lifted up somebody else to move on or to show leadership or to show mentorship onto that, because that's going to be a huge thing. Understanding financial responsibility, that's going to be huge. But the culture side of it is just as big as the financial side of it. And so there are three things we need to look at, and that's financial knowledge. We need to look at their education, make sure that they've been in a school. Some of our superintendents have never actually taught in a school. They just went right through the ladder and haven't really had vast experience of teaching. And that makes a huge difference because you're in control of the academic side of things, the teachers. If you don't know what they're going through, if you don't know what they've been through, how are you going to lead them into the future? So this is a great question because there's a lot of directions that you can go with this. First, I'll talk about building safety because those are the statistics that you mentioned. Yes, CMS has made, I think, great strides in focusing on our schools, on the safety, on the whole body scanners and all of the things. And I would like to continue to see that. I also like us to make sure that we think about our schools are different. You cannot do the same safety protocols, expectations at Myers Park or at Huntersville Elementary because they have outside buildings. The students have to walk, or the teachers have to walk outside from one building to another. That is a different amount of security than Blythe Elementary School that's all one building. And so we need to look at that and look at how our plan differentiates between our buildings and what we can do to make sure. I taught at McClintock Middle School. We have one building, several doors. It's much easier to control the doors going in and out when there's, several doors but one building. When there's multiple buildings, you don't have that simple control. And so we need to, and I don't have all the answers for security. I am not a security expert by any means, but I do have questions about how we can protect our open campus schools versus our closed campus schools. And that's something I will be diving more into. The body scanners you mentioned, the backpacks, I don't know what happened with them. All I know is that they ordered them, there were some issues with them, and then they just kind of disappeared. So I'm not really sure what happened with that. I'm not going to speculate. I do trust that our board did the best that they could with what the knowledge or what the information that they had, and that's all I'm going to do. And I prefer to focus on the future of CMS. I can't go back and change. I can't go back and criticize what they've done. I had no part in that. And so I think they learned things, and that's important. I think that they would do things differently. If we, had a redo button, I think things would be done differently. In fact, I know that for sure. And so I trust that as we move forward, we will be making better and more knowledgeable decisions. So in a short answer, I'm going to say the community. We all have the resources to stop this. We all have the resources to be involved with our schools. Bringing the community back into the schools is going to be the key to all of this. Safety is not just physical safety, it's mental safety as well. And the pandemic really hurt a lot of people in many different ways. There is a statistic that came out that 8,000 children across the nation have lost a primary caregiver due to COVID. Just a primary caregiver. And if you extend that to extended family like grandparents, it's over 10 million students. And that seriously has an effect on people. Your family is struggling. You are trying to make sense of all of this. You could, the child, a 12-year-old could have lost their parent. Chances are I know of a 12-year-old that lost their parent to COVID. There is a lot to go on there. And so with CMS sticking to our SEL programs and our whole child learning, that is how we counteract that in schools. We focus on our SEL, our social emotional learning. We focus on how to teach them how to handle their emotions, how to handle diversity, how to handle this, and teaching them to grow their emotions and grow their response, and making sure that they have an appropriate response and giving them an opportunity to learn how to do that appropriate response. That has a lot to do with all of this. And it's no secret that when we came back to in-person learning after being a year and a half or 2 years out, the behavior was not as expected, and it was a lot harder than expected. And so we want to continue to focus on our SEL, continue to focus on our relationship building, bringing the community in. Our students look to our community. They live in these communities. Who better than the people that they are seeing, that watching them grow up, being part of how they grow up, to be involved in their academic progress. And something as simple as the community reaching out and reading to a student. 60% of students start kindergarten not ever having been read to. That's something our community can do. If our community involves our schools and our community shows the love to our schools and our students, all of this will start to kind of tail off, because our students will know that they have adults that love them, that care for them, that want to see them exceed. And that's not just teachers, but their community wants to see them exceed too. And when we have faith in somebody, and somebody knows that they have faith and they embrace that faith, they're going to do so much more than if they're apprehensive or think that no one cares what they do or anything like that. Well, you have to remember that achievement score is based on one test. At the end of the year, it's a 4-hour test, and it's a nightmare. As a teacher who had to watch the students take the test, because that is what my job was during testing, it's like watching paint dry. It's horrible. And you can tell the kids are struggling after 3 hours, like they're done, they're checked out, And so, and honestly, to be frank, these tests are inherently biased. If you look at the answers and you look at the questions, a lot of times they're required to know knowledge that our kids don't have experience to. Because we're, a low-income urban, a lot of our kids don't travel. And so they don't understand how travel or how airplanes work or how, you know what I mean? They're, to bring in those experiences to help understand that test. And so that's something to keep in mind. Our growth scores, on the other hand, are significant. And we are, as you mentioned, we are the top in that area, in our immediate area of growth. And that is over the last year, from coming out of the pandemic into in-person learning again. So that is huge, and that is very promising. Unfortunately, the state scores or our state grades are 80% on that test and 20% on our growth. And honestly, it really should be the other way around. And I want to tell a story because this just highlights my idea completely. I had a student, I taught 7th grade, science and social studies. I had a student come into me, to our team at a 3rd grade reading level. And we worked really hard, and the student worked really hard to grow him. He came in for tutoring. I helped. We all helped. You know what I mean? Like, it was a team effort, and it was a student and a parent effort and a community effort. Like, everybody was loving on this student, right? Trying to get them to grow. They grew 2 grade levels. That is huge. You know, you're only expected to grow 1 in a year. In 1 year, he doubled that. We were so excited. We were just thrilled. But when it came time for the test, because he didn't make it to a 7th grade reading level, he failed. How demoralizing is that? That you worked so hard and you grew so much, but because you didn't grow an unattainable amount, you were considered a failing student. And then I was considered a failing teacher because my scores were based off of, or I shouldn't say I was considered a failing teacher. I was knocked down because that counted against me as my teacher. So that's where I'm talking about this test. You know, everyone focuses on these numbers, everyone focuses on, and that's great, and that data point is needed, but it should not have the weight that it does. And it doesn't give us an accurate picture of what our students are learning and growing. It is an inherently biased test. It is too long of a test, and it just shouldn't be on 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds and even high schoolers. You know, even our midterm exams and our final exams are not 3, 4, 5 hours long. I've never taken a test in school that has been that long and done well. There's those state tests, of course, and yes, we have to take them, but they should not be the only data point, and they definitely should not be 60% of our scores.